Hey everyone, this is Steve Wiideman with the Unbottleneck podcast. Today we're going to be talking about email marketing and a new thing that we learned about recently that you'll be excited about. Our guest today is Tim Watson of Zetasphere and Traction 6. So we're excited to learn a little bit more about how we can improve our email marketing strategy and a little bit about how we can improve our business. So Tim, thanks for being on the show today, and tell us a little bit about some of your background in email marketing.
Oh, sure. It's a pleasure to be here, Steve. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course.
Yeah, I've been started my email marketing, about 20 years ago.
Wow.
Was my first campaign. That was sort of back in the Wild West days. But then, I really kind of got going big time about 2004. Started working with a part of an email marketing vendor, and grew a platform there, worked with some really great brands on the email marketing, before then setting up international consultancy business around email marketing, and worked with some more terrific brands, and never stopped learning on the way.
It's true. It's true in every discipline of digital marketing. I think every day there's something new, some new technique, some new approach that seems to be working. So it's kind of neat. So you were a twice elected member of the Email Council at the Data and Marketing Association. That's pretty exciting. Could you tell us more about that?
Yeah, it's a really good industry body, representing the interests of the direct marketer and data marketer. They're sectioned into different disciplines there, and one of those is the Email Council that represents the interests of the email marketing industry. And I spent quite some time contributing to that, helping that, and promoting best practices through that industry body. Trying to get everybody to do the right thing. Because obviously it's like with a lot of things, there's also some not good things that go on. People.
I think we've all received enough of those in our inboxes.
Yeah, the black hat stuff on SEO and so on, and and there's the equivalent of the black hat on email marketing, and we have to try and educate people out of the bad practices which do not work. Or will work for a while, but will ultimately get you into deep hot water at some point. So, so really trying to educate the industry around best practices, and from the ground. I've always sort of my fingers deep into email marketing, practitioner as well as theorist.
Right. Yeah, I can tell you really enjoy it in the same way that we're in love with SEO over here. Try to break into other areas, but the moment the thing that you're really passionate about comes out, you jump right back into it. I know how that goes. That's really exciting though, working for and being part of that council and setting the standards of how things should be. I don't think we really have something like that on the SEO side, where there's sort of standards developed, because it's such a mystery. The search engines don't really give away their algorithms, whereas in email marketing, the platforms are just platforms for you to use, and it's developing kind of rules, regulations, and standards is something you can do, because there's no secret sauce, right? There's just experience and A/B testing and just understanding your audience.
I think that there certainly is some secret sauce as well, and also there's some mystery things, and some obviously the inbox providers don't fully lift up their cloaks and show what's underneath. So there's lots of conjecture, guessing, and experimentation to understand how the email is going to be handled on that side. But it's true. One of the nice things I've found about the email marketing industry over the years is it's really a strong community, and actually people help each other, even kind of competitors, and you get a bunch of competing agencies and consultants and vendors in a room, and actually they share stuff and share stories. It's a great community from that perspective, and not many industries have that.
Right. Yeah, we have a little bit of that on the SEO side too. There's quite a few Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups and so forth, where we all kind of get together and help each other and share, and sometimes laugh, sometimes cry, when algorithm updates happen. So let's let's take a quick step back for those people who are kind of new to, they're just starting out on digital marketing. They've got their website up. They've been listening to a few of our podcasts and they've started doing some SEO. Let's talk about this whole concept of email marketing. And in your opinion, for somebody who's new to doing any sort of digital marketing, what would you say is digital marketing, or what is email marketing? If they came to you and said, Tim, I heard I need to do this email marketing thing. What is it?
What's email marketing? Yeah, I guess, in that case, you could ask what's marketing, because it's whatever that is by email, right?
But for us, it seems broad. But for these new businesses, it's a whole new world for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's sending communication by email to promote the aims and objectives of the organization. And it's actually covers a very broad range, because whatever the organization is, whether it's a charity, whether it's a consumer product, whether it's a political party, whether it's a movement, whether it's a club, whether it's it's any of those things, and all of those things. In fact, all of those industries and types of organizations certainly use email for communication.
Sure.
And what is it? It's trying to promote the aims and objectives of whatever it is you're trying to achieve. And that's pretty wide, because that could be to, buy a product, get ratings and feedback on a product, get marketing insight and fill in surveys, join a movement, provide a donation, refer a friend, update your
video views.
Online. Yeah, right. Absolutely. And one of the ironies of email marketing is one of the big users of email marketing is social networks.
Right.
Social networks love sending emails to drive you back to the social network, right?
That's true. I turn my notifications off. It gets annoying.
Yeah. They send a huge amount of email to promote their aims and objectives. So, if it's a small business just getting going and then sort of thinking, how do we reach out, or how do we get back to people? Email marketing is a great tool. And whatever it is you're trying to achieve, whatever your objective is, it's doing that via email in a way that is customer focused, of course. Right. You can do PPC, you can do FCO, you can do direct mail, you can do TV adverts and banners and billboards and all of these things. Mm-hmm. The thing with email is it's far more personal. When it's on a TV ad or it's on a PPC, it's not kind of got that personal thing about it.
Sure.
And people, they just ignore the TV ad. They don't get upset and frustrated and annoyed that there was a TV ad so much, or there was a PPC ad. Whereas the inbox, it's a deeply personal space. Mm-hmm. You don't go into that space lightly, and you don't go into it without good permission, reason, and treating the other the person you're talking to like
I hit flag as spam probably 20 times a day.
right yeah absolutely. And then the people who do that, if you're continually having people hit spam on your emails, then that sends a signal back to those inbox providers to say this sender's not really someone that people like, and they stop delivering your email to the inbox. So that whole feedback is actually one of the main things that the inbox providers, the Microsofts, the Gmails use to decide whether the emails even belongs there in the first place. So it's a deeply personal space. People get really offended quickly if you do things which are seen as rude or unacceptable, or not within the expectation you set, of that relationship.
Sure. And I know it starts when a visitor gets to your website and they make a purchase. You give them the option of, hey, would you like to subscribe for deals and discounts and offers or news or anything? Or you give them the chance to choose that I'd like to be in this. And then if they do, then for the most part, you can assume they're welcoming your emails. They want to see, what you're sharing. And if they decide they don't, they'll turn it off. But what's interesting for people who are new to email in general, it's some small business might think, well, I've got 150 customers. I'm going to open up my Gmail account, and I'm just going to start sending emails to them all one at a time, or I'm going to copy and paste a brochure, into my email. And what's great is that you don't have to do that. There's free programs out there, that platforms that you could use to get started. And if you have a small list of people who've opted in to receive your email, whether it's through your website or at the point of sale. They could do something there where they fill out a little survey card and opt in for email if they want to. However you get that information, you can upload all that stuff into a platform. You can create, using a template, a pretty little email just to say hello and thanks for your business, to say what events are coming up, like you mentioned, and maybe, depending on what you're selling, maybe even some products. I know a watch consignment site we work with, they send their latest inventory emails, and they hardly get anybody unsubscribed for them because the collectors of those watches want to know what's new, what just came in, because they're interested to see what's in the treasure chest. And so for them, almost every email that goes out is, here's what's in, and it's just a list of products and what their current prices are. So I think emails, and it's a great way, like you said, it's very personal. It's a great way to convert more visitors who didn't convert the first time. Maybe they came into the website, they downloaded something that they thought was helpful or interesting. They decided, hey, I really want to get more of this type of content. So they opted into the newsletter using the little form that's on the website. So when you do send an email after you know that person did not convert into a customer, you can offer them discounts and incentives. You can take them down the whole buyer's journey, I think. So I think for those people who are new to email just in general, it is a whole medium of what you could use to drive more conversion from traffic that didn't convert yet, and get recurring transactions from those people who've already become brand ambassadors by loving your brand and opting in right away. So you're right. I think it is a broad question, but I know so many folks are right now, it's just, how do I get traffic to my website? As you mentioned, there's a number of ways digital marketing wise, right? There's SEO, which is optimizing the content to rank in search results. There's paid search, where you're buying the ads in Google and Bing and so forth. There's there's email marketing, which we were going to talk about today more. There's also referral traffic, where you can go out to other websites and say, hey, let's refer traffic to each other, so that we can grow each other's businesses. So many different ways that you can drive it. So today it's all about email marketing. And so we'll get into this a little bit more in detail. And thanks for clarifying that for everybody, Tim. I know that's, for those new people, it can feel a little bit overwhelming. Well, thinking about that too, what do you feel with 2021 being such a weird new year after the 2020 blur that we're all trying to forget? What do you think are the top 2021 best practices for how to do email marketing?
Yeah, well, I think we've spent kind of 20 years, maybe more, basically focusing on trying to do one thing, which is send the right message to the right person at the right time. And that really hasn't changed in terms of, that's what you're trying to do, is pick the right message to the right person at the right time. The tools change by which you do that, and maybe the message has changed as well. You have to be, in these current times, you maybe have to be sensitive to people's situation as well. There's some things which may be taboo, but the overall drive is, how do we use technology, and increasingly technology, to help us get right message, right person, right time. So 20 years ago, it was pretty much, you had one message for everybody, and if they were on the list, that was it. That was the kind of the segmentation. They're on the list, but technology, as time has gone on, has allowed us to do more and more. So that's really the difference. So
the best practice there is segment your list. Get to know and tag people who are on your list based on their purchase history, their interests, where they went on your website, and that way you can segment who you're sending emails to and what messages you're sending to each group. That's actually super smart.
Yeah, I mean, it's segmentation is just one tactic to get the right message there. I mean, increasingly, it's around real-time messaging, dynamic content, having products slotted now. I mean, if you look at the really sophisticated enterprise companies, kind of the likes of the eBays and so on, sure. Practically the whole message is generated dynamically. So no two people get the same message. It's generated dynamically for each person based on a whole multitude of parameters. So it's not really quite even a segmentation. It's a whole overlay of different things. But for the smaller businesses, then, you know, there could be some segmentation and simple segments by comparison with the likes of eBay in there. But also, you know, kind of one of the trends that I always, or one of the things that I think people get wrong is they stop talking to people like a human in their emails. And, you know, again, coming back to the inbox is a personal space. What people read is read in a very personal context. And so you're expecting, you know, you should have it in the customer language. It should sound like a real person and not like marketing jargon, you know, corporate speak and that, you know, icky stuff like that. So, you know, best practices is, you know, talk like a real person, show character, you know, stay customer focused, talk about their needs, wants, wishes, desires, and not yours. You know, it's no good sending an email telling people that you're brilliant and you're the best thing without telling them, you know, you should be telling them how you can make them brilliant, how they can be the best thing, or, you know, it's really about their world.
Giving value, not just bragging about it.
Yeah, I mean, that, you know, it's that kind of like, yeah, you shouldn't just brag and send an email bragging about how brilliant you are and you've just won fantastic awards, you've got all these accolades. You've got to put it in the context of how that's going to help the person you're talking to. And then be transparent about, you know, set expectations, honor those expectations. You talked about the sign up on websites and, you know, whether people are signing up for daily deals, then you can send daily emails. If people are sent up for a fortnightly
that's what they want.
Newsletter every 2 weeks, then, you know, if you send daily deal emails, they're going to be a bit confused, right? So, you know, make sure you set expectations and then honor those expectations.
I love it. Yeah, when I'm thinking about 2021, you know, tying in a little bit of the other inbound marketing, our message seems to have a lot of pandemic related content too. We'll say something like I'm trying to think, here's how we're handling safety, here's how we're addressing it. And Google My Business, for example, we've been recommending our clients use images that show how they're handling safety. So it's like if brick and mortar and we're open because lockdown is over, then here's pictures of us wearing masks, handing food through car windows or putting them in trunks. Here's staff cleaning tables. Here's the kitchen staff, you know, wearing gloves and masks and preparing food in a way that's safe and contactless. Here's a delivery service provider going to the door, putting the bag down, ringing the doorbell, backing up, seeing the person open the door and walking away. So little things like that. I think when people see that, they feel safe. They feel like I can trust this brand. I feel like they care about my safety. So I think in email right now, I think if businesses haven't yet, that's probably the first message. If you're a brick and mortar or you just do delivery, or if you go on site with someone and you actually meet with them, you know, the message you want to make sure that you're sharing, at least right now, is how you're handling, you know, their safety and their subconscious need to feel like this company and the people there aren't going to get me sick, right?
Yeah, certainly if you're a brand where you've got physical contact points with people, as you say, like you know, restaurants and you know, bricks and mortar.
Well, even Amazon did it too. Remember when the pandemic started, they took like a month off or something, like a month or two, where they're only doing essentials, and then they jumped into these videos and just showing how the Amazon delivery people are being safe, and I thought that was really cool. So I think a lot of businesses are doing a really good job of just making sure they recognize that it is a scary time and these things are going on and we're not ignoring it, you know?
Yeah. I think when it first hit, there was also a lot of kind of, I know, copycat emails. You know, so one brand sent an email saying, you know, our employees are our top priority. So everyone, oh, we should do that as well. And there's like everyone just sending emails about, you know, our employees are our top priority. And it's like, okay, so surely that would have always been the case. And why are you even telling us this?
Yeah.
Because
should we be worried? What do you? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You know, have you just realised that your employees are your top priority or something? So you know, that's kind of a slightly curious message as well at times as to that. Or even, you know, it's kind of like, okay, great, but if it's an business which is not bricks and mortar and so on, you know, is it even widely applicable or relevant to the person? You know, you're filling up my inbox with messages about how you're looking after your staff. You know, well, great for you, but, you know, hey, I've got my own worries. You know, my job's on the line, or so on. I'm really happy you're looking after your staff, but my world's different to yours, and I'm worried about my world, not your world. Sorry. You know,
which gets us to another topic. Is thinking about that subject line and making sure if we are going to, you know, send a message and we are brick and mortar, you know, what our mom and pop shop, what are we going to say so that they are interested? And then thinking about that subject line, it might be something like, we're, you know, welcome back, right? I see a lot of emails saying welcome back, and then there's some promotion or whatever that's going on right now, and then they talk about the promotion, but they briefly say, you know, your safety is important to us. You know, we want to welcome you back, and here's what changes we've made, you know, to address that. And so when you come in for this new promo, you know, you can feel good about it. That way, it's not just, you know, sending just a random email with info. It's actually offering some kind of value, promotion, offer, deal, special, right? Something going on like that. I think that's been it's been great for consumers. I've saved so much money in emails where like save 30%. And even some of the masks I like a mask called Halo. It's a really good, like super, it's got a filter in it and you can actually breathe and your glasses don't get fogged up. It's Halo, Halo. And free shout out on this one. But they send these emails that are like 30% off, 40% off. And even though they're an expensive brand of face masks, they've got me convinced that they're a great product. And, you know, I get the email discount, and I'm like, why would I not take advantage of a 40% discount if it's something I need, you know? So speaking of subject lines though, what do you feel are some subject line best practices to really maximize your success? Because I honestly, like I mentioned earlier, I click spam on like 20 emails a day, and most of them I don't even open. I just see the subject line and it's like, you know, spam, 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 spam. What do you think with the subject line?
Yes, so I guess there's a few things here. I mean, the first thing about subject lines is they carry a message, even if people don't open the email, right? So even if you're kind of looking at it going, you know, oh, I'm not opening that, not opening that, not opening that. Actually, people have, you know, read the brand, read the message, maybe, you know, got something from it. So there's a message in the subject line already, or there's a branding value to the subject line, even for an unopened email. So people think about emails only having value if they get opened, but they certainly have impact even if they don't get opened. So that's something to think about. But, you know, there's lots of different types of subject line approach you can take, you know, question based, a short subject line and not a long subject line, personalized by including a name or something about, you know, a product or service that they've used before.
Not using all caps. Oh, that drives me crazy when somebody sends an email and it's all caps in the subject line.
Yeah, using emojis, using, you know, benefit based, offer based, urgency based. You know, urgency is a big driver of action in email for sure. You know, fear of missing out based subject lines. So, you know, a positive emotion or a negative emotion, all of those things. So you could take a subject line like, you know, getting quick for a $50 discount, or you could say $50 disappears at midnight, or, you know, could say, Steve, you'll kick yourself if you miss this $50 deal. So there's lots of different approaches to the message in there. And, you know, truth be told, there is no kind of one overall winning tactic. If you find that Steve, you'll kick yourself is a great subject line and it really resonated, but then you do every single subject like that, every single subject line that, then people get bored with it. You know, they get numb to it. People like variation, or the you know, you can't bore someone into opening an email
or keep clickbaiting them, right?
Yeah, you know, that's absolutely true. And with email, people remember you. You know, email marketers tend to think, I'm sending this campaign, you know, this one campaign now, and they see it as an isolated event, whereas what the customer is seeing is a continuous stream of communication. And what's being said today, you know, how they react to it depends on what happened last week or the week before. And if you clickbait people too often, that they open emails and they wasted their time, then they go, oh God, these idiots again. I'm just going to delete it. You know, I open the last 3 emails.
The boy that cries wolf. Right.
You know, and these guys tick me off about it. So there's actually a need in the subject line to almost make sure the right people open the email. Like, you know, if this offer is not going to be an email for you, do your customers the favor of being able to filter out that email from the subject lines. They just go, oh, it's such and such brand. Yeah, that's not something I'm in the market for. That's something I'm not interested in. I'll just delete it. But I know they're going to have something great coming along shortly. And they just delete it, and they didn't get hurt by it. They didn't open it and waste time and energy. Whereas if you use a subject line, which is, you know, just got them to open the email and they open it and go, rubbish.
That can get annoying after a while.
Then next time, they're just not even going to look at the subject line. They're just going to, you know, unsubscribe, hit spam, delete. So, yeah, so, you know, you got to think about it like that. But the best strategy for subject lines is to mix up the tactics. Does that make sense? Don't stick to the same thing. You know, do a short subject line and then do a long subject line. Use a question-based subject line. Steve, do you want a $50 deal? And then, you know, use a personalized, and then use the benefit, and then use an urgency. So kind of mix it up a bit. Is actually use words that you haven't used before, and hopefully use some words that, you know, no one else is using. Sure. So your message is the same, but you kind of pick slightly different vocabulary. Just kind of, rather than always saying awesome deal, you know, try and find some different way of saying that. You know, out of this world deal or something, but just use slightly different words each time.
That's really smart. I can tell you a hack that we tried a while ago when we had that question from someone of hey, I don't have budget for anything and I need some help with what do I do with email. I'm like, well, I know who to refer them to, but if there's no budget and you're starting from scratch, the best advice that I give them is I said, set up a new email somewhere, like a Yahoo email or another Gmail or something, and subscribe to all the different companies that are in your industry, right? Just subscribe to like 20, 30, 40 of them. Get all their emails, their newsletter emails, and study them. Study what title subjects they're using. Study what seems to be working for them. And then when you find ones that feel like, hey, this is really compelling, it made me want to open it. Then you take your top ones and go to a site like Amazon Mechanical Turk and you run a study and you ask which subject line would make you want to open the email. You know, you ask 1,000 people for 3 cents each to pick A or B, right? And when you get to the end, you've got a nice little study that you did from anonymous users all over the world around which subject line to start with as a test. For a small business, as you get larger, you might use both titles or many titles and run segments to see which one performs better.
Yeah, run A/B split testing when you've got enough data to do that.
But when you only have 100 emails,
you can't do split testing when you got 100 emails.
Yep.
That's
so that was a neat hack though, because then you don't have to reinvent the wheel, because it can feel overwhelming. It's like, oh, I don't know what subject line to use. I could test something or try a question, but let me see what my competitors are doing. So you set up that email, you just watch the emails flood in from their newsletters, and you see which ones really resonate with you, and then start with some of those. So it's a neat way to, if you don't have a Tim Watson as a wingman, to gain some insights and not have to reinvent the wheel as much.
Yeah, that's a nice hack, but I'd add a little bit of one angle to that, which is don't be different though. It's almost like if everybody's doing it this way, then run in the opposite direction. Don't
copy anyone. Just draw inspiration. What was it that made you want
to get inspiration? But if rather than like, oh look, they did it like this, we should do the same. Actually, do you know what? If that's, you're not going to get stand out.
Put our own spin on it. Let's make it better. Let's do this, but let's make it better.
Yeah.
That's how we beat the competition. I love it. I got a controversial question for you. And this is when you're talking about Black Hat back in the day, where I remember there were networks, we won't mention them by name, but you could go to them with your brokered email list that you purchased, and they would set up 25 different servers to send emails from, to get all these different, emails out everywhere. And buying a list, brokering a list, and there's plenty of them out there that do it, is a I don't know if I want to use the word illegal, but it's definitely something that can get you in a lot of trouble with the folks that regulate the internet and spam and so forth. But we know all businesses, just like with SEO, I want to grow my organic traffic and I want to get really high keyword rankings. On the email side, it's I want to build my email list. So because I realize my emails convert better because they're more personalized, as you mentioned, I want to grow my list. So how do businesses that are still kind of new to email marketing, how do they get email lists? How do they grow their email list?
Yeah. Let me start off by saying, don't go and buy a list.
Thank you.
Absolutely
Please don't
not.
do this. Yeah.
Please don't do that. You'll be shooting your feet off. And I've seen lists on eBay,
Lawsuits.
being offered for it's not worth the money. Even if it was 1 cent, it's still not worth the money, right? And in the past, people have occasionally twisted my arm to try and help them with their campaigns where they've got a lot of purchased or third-party data. I just stopped trying to help people because it's like, what, this is not going to help you. It's not going to help me.
These aren't your customers. They don't
These
know
aren't
you.
your customers. No. You arriving at the inbox unannounced. It's not going to work. So what can you do? Building good quality permission-based opt-in lists is the brands that do that enjoy the strongest success with email marketing programs. Obviously, your website is one of the number one properties where you can grow your email list. The surprise tactic that works is pop-ups. Everyone hates them. Every time I say pop-up, people go, "Oh, I hate pop-ups. I'm not putting a pop-up on my website."
On your order today, I see it, and I'll do it if I'm already interested in the product. I'll still opt in and opt out later because I want that code.
Yeah. Well, you opt in thinking you're going to opt out later, but then you get some stuff that you like and go, "Oh, maybe I'll hang around a little bit longer." So it's the surprise tactic that works, because I've had so many conversations where people go, "Oh, we're not doing that on our website. We don't like those." And I go, "Okay, I understand you don't like it, or you have some personal, but try it, because you will like it, because apparently your consumers and your customers like it because they do get used." But in short, where can you do it? The purchase process is probably the number one place, because people who buy from you are your biggest advocates. The biggest people, they've already displayed trust in you. So clearly providing opt-in and reasons to opt in during the purchase process.
Yep.
Anywhere where you meet physically, virtually, your potential prospects and business partners, build in methods of collecting email addresses and options to get email addresses. Even PPC, I've worked with brands who have a whole strong PPC funnel that drives their list growth. So they're doing PPC, bringing people to a landing page, offering them something there that's of value. People sign up, get the thing of of value for free, but then exactly. And then on the funnel, you're then using the email and promoting other things, which ultimately pays. And that's PPC to drive list growth. That works as well for some brands.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah, and I know it seems so challenging when you're like, how do I get this big list that I can send people to? And you're right, there's so many. You could use the other vehicles. You could use paid. You could use organic. I have a lot of content, on our site that's strategies for lawyers and doctors, and free tips, local SEO checklists. Right, I've got all these different things that I put out that are free content. And they get most of it for free. And if they want a little bit more, if they want to get a little bit more granular, they can opt in and get free ebooks and other things. So that seemed to work for us on the digital marketing side. For someone who's maybe a chiropractor or a local business, it could get a little trickier, because if they're not doing, like you said, the e-com part's obvious, they could do promotions. But if you're not e-com and you're just doing services, you can get really creative and tell stories. I've seen brands do some really fun things through email. One of my favorites was the dad. I have these T-shirts now that's like the dad, and it's neat because they'll share funny videos that they curated from YouTube. They'll share stories from Facebook and from Instagram, and they make it really fun and interesting and engaging. And somehow, some way between getting all these emails that I started to opt into when I first went to the website, I found myself buying T-shirts, and I'm like, that wasn't why I subscribed, but because of how well
you liked it and it appealed.
Yeah, I'm like, I could see myself wearing that shirt and embarrassing my teenagers. That'd be great, So it worked really well. The one thing that I thought was funny, by the way, on the whole email lists opt-in was when you go to a website and you get the Wheel of Fortune thing, and you get to choose, or spin the wheel, and that it felt like for a second, I'm like, are we back to punch the monkey ads? What's going on, right? It's like, but I still do it because I want to,
gamification of it. Yeah, that can work as well, doing some gamification of the, giving people a bit of fun. And what I liked what you're talking about with the content, it's almost the, McDonald's, would you like fries with that? Which is, people are reading some content around, whatever it is, it's on, long tail SEO or something.
Sure.
And then as part of that, you can have a pop-up which is specific to that page or topic, which is, hey, why don't you get our long tail SEO checklist? Just, drop your email address in here and download the checklist. And that's the kind of, if you're reading this, then you'll like this approach. Would you like fries with that? Rather than just kind of a generic subscribe for our fantastic content, make it really contextual to what people are currently engaging in.
Right.
And that really increases people's, subscribe rates then as well.
That's awesome. And that's the goal, right? The goal is just to continue to find ways to get people to subscribe, to broaden our reach, so that when we do have some amazing thing that we've worked hard on, whether it's a tool or a calculator or a template or a checklist or a strategy or a recipe, that we have a wider audience to share that with, between the social media that we've grown and our email list that we've grown. When we have 100,000 opt-ins and 200,000 followers on social media, one message could be seen by hundreds of thousands of people in minutes. So it's exciting. This is why we build these lists, is to help our customers, and also to continue to build brand equity, I think, right?
Yeah, well, and email's great for demand generation and demand response. If you take something like search PPC, people have already got to have had the idea of wanting this thing, that something, this solution. But if they, if they've never heard of it, if they didn't even know that was a possibility, or that your brand provided it, there's a good chance they're either going to search for it or buy it from elsewhere, or not even look. Whereas if you, with email, you can actually help people understand what your full offer is. Like, I've always been coming you to this. I didn't know you did that as well. Great that you've told me now. Opening people's eyes to that new thing that you've got, or that different thing. They came to you for one particular solution. Now you can tell them about the other solutions that you do that may well be.
Yep. I love it.
Whereas with search marketing, it's all about demand response. It's only if they ask the question, can you respond to it? With email, you can do demand generation.
Yes, it's like push versus pull in many cases. I love it.
Push versus pull, 100%. Yeah.
Yep. One of the questions that came up when we were thinking about email marketing was around tracking. Tracking gets really complicated, and we notice a lot of smaller businesses will just put, one URL to their website, and they won't even segment it. So when they go into their analytics, they just see a bunch of direct traffic. So we've tried to show them how to use this cool this cool UTM builder, right? It's this little tool that Google provides for analytics to allow you to segment, what came from email, what came from something else. So they go to this tool, they put in the URL, they put in some information about the email they plan to send out, and Google gives them this little full path URL to use, and they drop that, on the links that are within their emails. And then they can go into their analytics later and actually see email separate from something else. Larger brands will do something a little bit different, where they'll put in a different code for each different link that they have within their email. Maybe they've got one link that's a button, another link that's a picture or a sentence, or just a blue link within a paragraph somewhere. Do you have any sort of high-level best practices as it pertains to tracking email and segmenting, the content and campaigns within Google Analytics?
Yeah, oh, definitely. Yeah, I'm a big fan of making sure you use lots of tracking and get lots of insight from it. So those little UTM codes. I mean, first of all, a lot of email platforms will automatically sort out the UTM codes for you and give you a fairly workable use. Also, on the email platform side, they'll generally give you the clicks by link in the email as well as clicks by campaign. So from the email platform side, it's taken care of that, if there's a button link and a text link, you could see the difference between those. But if you want to follow it through onto your website and see what happens post-click, and you do, right? Then, you need to set up the UTM codes. Usually, UTM source, you're probably going to set that to the email platforms that you're using.
MailChimp or Constant Contact.
If you're driving email through some different ways, like you've got some automation platform, you've got a broadcast, or you've got 2 or 3 different things going on, you might send up the UTM source according to that. UTM medium, obviously that's going to be email. You're going to set that up. UTM campaign, that's where you can then set that up for that particular campaign or that particular sequence of campaigns. And then you can add on the the UTM content and things like that to give you
based on what they clicked on, right?
Yeah, based on what they clicked on and see it a little bit deeper.
One thing I think I've seen a lot of businesses do that kind of irritated me is they ran campaigns and they forgot to put a date on the campaign, even though you could go back and try to figure out what the dates were by using a filter. If you put the campaign name, maybe it's shoe special or blue shoe special, so you could do blue shoe special _ and then put the date of that campaign in there, however you want to format it, just so that when you are looking at all the email campaigns that performed really well in one view, you can see which ones really generated the most revenue for you, and revisit those on your next year's campaign.
That's a great tip, and I've done that many times, which is kind of stuffing information into the UTM campaign. Unfortunately, Google only gives us a certain amount of bandwidth as to what we can do, so you end up stuffing information into the UTM campaign. I do things like use date in fixed international format _ campaign name _ something, so you can then do things like regex expressions in Google Analytics and search for particular things based on that. So using a bit of having a codification, right, rather than just random strings of campaign name. I call this the Sunny campaign, but actually having a consistent format and codification of how you write your campaign names and put into UTM campaign makes it much more usable. And
it's a great way.
Steve, what's quite stunning, you mentioned the kind of seeing the date. I mean, you're looking at Google Analytics and you go, whoa, hang on, someone just purchased from this campaign that was sent 18 months ago. I mean, it just happens. I mean, you think, oh, people forget about emails, but actually, if it's a good email, people search their inbox and they go back to it and they click on it years later and come back to it. It's has a very long life.
Guilty. I do the same thing. In fact, I use the snooze button and I'm like, I don't have a budget for this thing yet, but I'm going to put it in for July, and I'll snooze it till July, and then July comes, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about this, and so I'll jump back in.
That's the little trivia question for you, Steve. So do you know what UTM stands for?
It's the urchin tracking something.
Urchin tracking.
Original Google Analytics.
Yeah. Before Google Analytics, it was Urchin, right? Only us with not too much hair know this sort of stuff. It's
when Google acquired Urchin, they kept some of the features, and UTM I think was one of them.
UTM was kept, So it's a little trivia question.
This has been awesome talking about email marketing. I know you've been working really hard on something new recently, and I feel bad that I stole so much of your time around email marketing. I just know that we haven't talked about that on the podcast, and I thought our listeners would enjoy hearing a little bit more about what this email marketing thing is, since they're seeing some of it maybe in their analytics and they're trying to figure out how they can get more of it. But you've been doing something new. Tell me about this entrepreneurial operating system. I'd love to hear more about that.
Oh, sure. Yeah, welcome. Yeah, EOS. So actually, it started about 6 years ago, working with a business. I read a book called Traction by Gino Wickman, which captures EOS, and we implemented EOS into the business. It's a way of running the business, and I just, it works so well. I just fell in love with it. That business grew 54% to 10 million over 3 years.
Oh my God.
And EOS was like a really important part of making that happen. And I just became a total devotee of it. The tools work. So, but yeah, what is it exactly?
I thought it was your book, by the way. I went to your website and I was just like, man, this whole website is about this idea, this philosophy, this way of improving your business. And then I see the book and I'm just like, whoa, you wrote a book? But then I realized, yeah, you fell in love with the concept and just built a business around it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in short, what is it? What I do is I help business owners get what they want from their business, and that's by providing and helping them implement a complete proven system of simple practical tools. And it focuses on 3 things called vision, traction, healthy. And vision from the standpoint of getting everybody on the same page and where that business is going, how it's going to get there. And traction is instilling the discipline and accountability so that everybody's executing on every part and achieving every part of the vision. And healthy just means creating cohesive, functional teams and leadership teams. Because Steve, I don't know if you know this, but when you put strong leaders together, they don't always work well together.
No, too many cooks in the kitchen.
It happens, right? And ES is a way of getting vision, traction, healthy, and it just blew me away how well those tools work, and all the kind of business experiences I've had and the startups I've been part of and business have helped grow and seen the challenges. And it's like, oh, there's a solution for this. So I help.
Have you done this for already? This training?
Sorry.
How many businesses have you provided this training?
I'm currently working with 6 businesses on this and implementing, and it's they're having a great journey. It's really helping them. Yeah,
that's fantastic, and it's exciting too because you're not just doing a service. You're helping a business get their act together. You're helping them to see more growth and more revenue, which is, I mean, that's every business needs that. I mean, so many people get into business because they really are good at doing one thing, and that's the one thing that that they excel at. Other things that are part of the business development, as part of the business planning and the logistics and the finance and the HR and the legal, all those other attributes can be overwhelming. So sometimes businesses don't succeed, they don't grow because the business owner is so focused on just the service that they're offering that they don't have time to really develop their business. And it sounds like the elements of this new process sort of help align those things to make it a little bit less overwhelming and seamless, and create a roadmap, to develop growth, where I don't think a lot of businesses, especially those small businesses that are, have the specialist running them, ours included, struggle. We struggled quite a bit in the first 5 years of our business because we didn't know. We knew e-business, right? We knew how to build and design and develop and optimize and can convert a website, right? But we really didn't have a lot of business experience.
Yeah. And what happens is you start growing the business, and as this complexity starts to occur around you, and you don't even really notice it, and you're busy patching up and putting something into the holes and the leaks and a bit of tape around something to hold it together, and pushing it away and pushing forwards, and and it's just going on and growing, and it's getting worse. And as the business is scaling and growing and it's doing well, but all of this stuff is just accumulating. At some point you have to start working on the business, and step out of the business, work on it, and start simplifying it, creating structure. And that's what EOS is all around, is about helping run a truly great entrepreneurial company.
That's amazing. I'm definitely. We should definitely do another session too, another podcast, just talking about business development, small business development. I think a lot of folks that are trying to grow their business using digital, who follow the podcast, would appreciate something that's a bit of a non-digital. Let's get away from digital for a minute and let's talk about how we can just improve our businesses in general. Well, I know we're getting short on time. I'd love to ask you a few lightning round questions if you're up for it.
Oh, sure. Go far away.
A couple email marketing ones too to start with. The first one, ready?
Yeah.
All right. What is your favorite email marketing platform for small business?
Oh, a favorite. I always say I don't really have a favorite, but MailChimp, of course, for small business, everyone knows MailChimp. Everyone's heard of MailChimp. Well, I believe they have anyway. It's fantastic value for money. It's a solid, good platform. It's easy to use. It's a great platform. There's other platforms around, but I'd usually tell people, if you're not sure what to use, MailChimp's a great place to start with. You can't go wrong.
What about for enterprises, larger brands, and we'll pretend it's an e-commerce brand, and you have this big e-commerce brand, and we've got I don't know, 1 million customers. What is in your opinion, of the platforms that you've probably touched, every single one of them, of the ones that you've touched, what did you feel was your favorite for enterprises?
So that's where it really gets tricky, because I always say, particularly for enterprises, you should be putting strategy first, technology second. And there's this sort of inclination for, let's go and buy some shiny technology because that's going to make us into better email marketers.
Salesforce, marketing force, yeah.
Yeah, and it just isn't, just isn't the case. Just buying shiny technology when you have no idea how you're going to use it, you're probably going to buy the wrong shiny technology, because they do start to be a little bit different as they get bigger. They've got sort of different strengths and weaknesses. So is there a one size fit all for the enterprise? No, there isn't. When it gets to the sort of larger platforms and so on, I mean, I do like the .digital platform. I've worked with that a lot and I like it, but I certainly say, think about what you want to achieve, and then think about what is the best technology fit for you, rather than talk to vendors, see who has the most flashy, impressive, shining lights,
right.
and buy
the
that.
overkill that you might not need, and especially if you're not an e-commerce brand and you don't need as much of that technology background, and you're just sending marketing communications, you're right, you probably need something a little more lightweight.
Yeah, absolutely. You can do quite well on something lightweight, and there's also add-on solutions or sort of third-party things. So you can be using a platform, and then there's solutions out there like Fresh Relevance, which will add additional functionality to your current platform. So they'll do product recommendation stuff and dynamic insertion of content. So you can add extra functionality by buying a third-party sort of add-on solution, or something that works and integrates with it, and some of those will help you with your website as well. So they'll start to do some of the really clever stuff that maybe the email vendors haven't. So you can turbocharge MailChimp or many of the other platforms by buying a Fresh Relevance.
I've seen that in WordPress even. There's some plugins and some things that you can do to take advantage of other email platforms and do some really cool intake and stuff on the back end before it even gets into the email program. So best tip, this is a tough one probably because there's so many great tips that you've given already. Best tip for improving your email open rates. And I know you gave a lot of really good suggestions earlier, but what would be your number one thing that you would suggest to improve open rates?
Probably personalizing the subject line.
Okay.
Would be my best tip. Is that my best tip? Yeah, personalizing the subject line rather than using kind of generic subject lines.
Okay.
But maybe I should actually say my best tip for improving open rates is the earlier one, which is mix up your tactics. don't just do one thing, but mix it up and do different things. So maybe
I love it. No, that's super awesome. All right. I know you follow a lot of different social media platforms and you're in groups and so forth. If I wanted to become a master at email marketing and I wanted to follow some of the big names in social media who produce some really good content and tips around email marketing, who might I follow on social media? Aside from yourself, of course, everybody should be following.
Yeah, who might you follow? There's some great people out there. I know Action Rocket. Elliot Ross does lots of very good content around there. You've got, Email on Acid, their blog's usually very good.
Email on Acid, is that what it's called?
Email on Acid, yeah. They've got a great blog, and, they're great, worth following. You've got people like Jenna Tiffany and Kath Pay. They're, good people to follow and pay attention to what they're saying. So lots of options for sure.
Well, we'll put a few of those in the comments for those people who are watching the video on YouTube. So if you want to build a Twitter list of email marketing experts to follow, and we'll include Tim in that as well, you can do that. We have a SEO experts list on our Twitter at Wiideman if you want to follow that as well for SEO. Now the really important questions. What is your favorite alcoholic or non-alcoholic beverage?
Well, don't know if I should say this. I'm a bit promiscuous. I have different beverages at different times.
Okay. So mixing it up like your subjects. Okay.
Mixing it up. Yeah, I'm true to my subject line. So, one day I might be, on a little bit of whiskey, not old fashioned or something like that. And Manhattan, those nice cocktails, but, just straight whiskey and dry ginger. And then that next day might be, onto some vodka-based something, or a bit of vodka, or just a beer. If it's beer, then it's IPA beer generally, an English bitter, an IPA or an IPA beer. Yeah,
nice. I love that. I had to stop drinking the IPA. I gained so much weight. I had the dad bod from hell, so now I'm no more beers for a while. But my favorite, I like a good mezcal, a tequila mix. That's my favorite.
Okay. Right.
So yeah.
But yeah, I'm not a one drink person. I'll take different things depending on mood and environment and
time of day, and
yeah, absolutely.
All right. This is one that my cousin and I have thought about since we were about 3 years old. Superman or Batman?
Batman.
Okay, all right.
Batman.
We'll have to talk about that later. That's interesting.
Oh, right. Is that the wrong choice?
Well, we'll say, that's definitely a controversial topic, and if you read through some of my Facebook posts, you'll see some funny. I thought they were funny things that my cousin didn't appreciate as much. Where can people find you online if they want to contact you about the system that you're working on? If they are interested in asking you some questions about email marketing, what would be the best place they could find you?
LinkedIn is a great place to find me. That's you look for me on LinkedIn. Website traction6.co.uk. You'll find me hanging around there, zetasphere.com. But yeah, link with me on LinkedIn, I'd say, is a good choice.
Yep, LinkedIn is just linkedin.com/in/TA Watson.
That's me. Yes.
All right. So you should come up with a creative like email expert or something. Right, that would have been a fun thing to goof around with as you do your marketing. I grabbed SEO expert back when LinkedIn was still sort of new,
right?
And I actually get offers for it now. Like people are like, "I'll give you $10,000 if you give me the SEO expert." And I'm like, "No, it's who I was. I'm not. There's no money that you could, put to that."
Yeah.
So, nice. Well, Tim, this has been so much fun. Thank you for sharing with everyone some things to get them started on email marketing, and I'm sure a lot of folks are gonna be really interested in talking to you about how you can help them with their business as well. Any last words for those people listening on what we talked about today?
Don't be too afraid when it comes to email marketing, as in, if you don't overthink it, don't be too afraid of what you're doing. Don't do daft things like buying data. But don't
buy lists.
It's okay to try a couple of things. You get a certain amount of goodwill from your list, and they'll just ignore it if it wasn't quite right, and try it. And sometimes you'll find out the things that you try and you thought didn't work will work. So try to park your perceptions a little bit at the door and try it rather than, not try it.
And mix things up.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, Tim, thank you again for being on the show today. Thanks everybody for listening. This has been another episode of Unbottlenecked, podcast that helps with common marketing problems. And we will see you on the next show. Thanks, Tim.
Cheers, Steve. Bye.